dia a tothom, benvinguts. Més o menys tot són cares conegudes, però això també s'està fent per streaming, hi havia gent de... Bienvenidos. Comenzamos el User Day de Software 2 aquí en la Universidad Autónoma de Barcelona, en la Escuela de Ingeniería. Estamos encantados de recibiros. Welcome to people from Software 2. Nice to meet you here again. And I apologize on behalf of the school dean because he would like to be here, but it's not possible because this week is the Mobile World Congress.
Oh yeah.
And all the members of the dean direction are in the JOMO, the JOMO Mobile.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
It's a busy week in Barcelona.
For being here.
You know the hotels are expensive.
Yeah, we know.
Benvinguts a tothom. Farem un repàs de la presentació, de l'agenda, no?
Sí, pues, sí, farem una mica... Aquesta és la tercera, és the first Software 2 edition. Dos van ser al CSUC i aquesta van comentar a nivell de grup de treball que podia ser també alguna dels usuaris que està utilitzant el servei, en aquest cas d'Uniapps. Llavors, la idea, com ho hem repartit i heu vist, farem primer una presentació per part del proveïdor de Software 2 respecte a les novetats, que veieu sobretot el que vindrà. A partir d'aquí segurament demanarem coses al final del torn de preguntes, perquè també ells vegin el que com vosaltres usuaris necessitem o volem com evolucionar en aquest cas tant els portals com la part tecnològica. Després farem un descans, que aquí crec que és a l'ala, aquesta ala paral·lela a la que estem, i després el que més important per nosaltres, i aquesta vegada s'estrena, és que tenim diferents casos d'èxit per part de vosaltres, que ens explicareu com esteu utilitzant aquesta tecnologia tant a l'Autònoma com a Vic com a la Rovira i Virgili. És una cosa que crec que és molt interessant de compartir. Al final, per part del CSUC, us explicaré algunes novetats respecte al servei i de les coses que estan previstes que vindran. Un espai obert, on normalment a Software 2 you have some homework from Barcelona, you know, and every edition que estem fent aquí, i tanquem. I ja està, més o menys és això.
Ok, molt bé. Pel descans, pel coffee break, hem preparat una sala i aleshores ara quan sortirem d'aquí, són poquets, o sigui sortirem tots junts, però per si algú es despista, ara sortint aquí al vestíbul, al passadís aquest gran, el següent passadís que veieu anant cap a l'entrada, diguéssim, aquí a mà esquerra, doncs allà al final està ja indicat el coffee break i allà, quan sigui el descans, podem prendre alguna cosa.
Aquí només agrair també a l'Autònoma, i en aquest cas a l'Escola d'Enginyeries, que ho podem fer aquí, en aquesta sala, i sobretot a vosaltres, que alguns de vosaltres avui, fora dels impediments del trànsit, etc., estem aquí i hem arribat, perquè és un dia complicat. Ja està. A partir d'aquí.
Moltes gràcies. Welcome and we can begin.
Perfect, thank you. So how do I get that? Oh, perfect. Wonderful. Okay, welcome everybody to the Software 2 User Day. Thank you for UAB for hosting today's event and for CSUC for helping us organise it. And thank you all for coming. We've gone over the agenda. Okay, so what I thought I'd do is just give you a bit of update on where we've been, where we've come from, where we are now. I just wanted to give you a brief history and take you back to 2009, 10 years ago since we started Software 2. And you'll remember back then our branding, which we were very proud of, and our logo. And we had some great business cards printed that wouldn't fit in anybody's wallet, and we were all very proud of the fact that the Software 2 logo was slightly different. And the three guys that started it all at the time, Nick, Tony and Ryan, and some of you will have met Nick, Tony and Ryan at some point during our relationship with the group. Back then, things looked very different at Software 2. Nick, Tony and Ryan used to work at home in their pants and spent all day on Skype with each other, trying to introduce to the UK market a product called Application Jukebox. And in 2010, they got their first customers, the University of Kingston. And it's quite amazing to think that these three guys sat at home in their pants, sold Application Jukebox to 2 universities in the UK, because it was a competitive situation back in 2009. There was, or 2010, there was things like AppV, ThinApp, products from Symantec, and it's amazing to think that these three guys won those customers with Application Jukebox. Nowadays we don't really have an awful lot of competition. It's a very different world nowadays in terms of application virtualization. But it's amazing to think that those 2 customers have been with Software 2 now for 10 years. And that's always been Software 2's aim, to build those long-term relationships. So fast forward to 2014, almost 4 years later, and we had the vast majority of the UK market saturated with Application Jukebox. Everybody had moved away from fat deployment and was starting to use application virtualization as a delivery method. And we quickly realized that if we carry on going as we are, we're going to run out of universities to sell to. So that's when we started to look a little further field than just the UK. And this is the point where I joined my journey at Software 2, along with a former colleague of mine, and we introduced Application Jukebox to universities outside of the UK. And we got our first customers. My colleague got his first customer in the US, as the University of New Hampshire, and I got mine in Belgium, in the form of Odyssey. And that's really where our relationship with the SOOC started in 2014, where we did a presentation in Madrid and we introduced Application Jukebox and all the fun of virtualization. Now, around about the same time, our early adopters in the UK were looking to go a bit further than just delivering applications to their labs. They wanted to look into things like BYOD, and having solved the question of how we get applications to our labs, the question quickly became, how do we get our applications to our staff and student devices? And taking advice from many universities on how to shape this, we came up with this concept of the S2 hub. This was sort of the early beginnings of what we know now as AppsAnywhere. And I remember standing in a room quite similar to this, presenting our vision and how we could integrate all of your existing technologies and bring them into one central point. The ability to pick and choose the best way of getting your software. And the goal was getting any application to any device. And as you can see, I went clip art mad and started introducing things like Citrix and VMware and iOS and Android. Fast forward to 2016, our marketing department gave us some new branding. So the logo, the fancy logo that we all loved and liked, disappeared, and we got a bit more modern. And the S2 hub evolved into AppsAnywhere. And this is what Software 2 looked like in 2016 from a staff perspective. There was 14 of us, Fast forward to today, and the group looks very different. There are 3 divisions now to Software 2, the latest being our colleagues in Germany, who have made a great start to their invasion, if that doesn't sound historically racist. And Software 2 is now 30 people. So in just 3 years, we've got over double the amount of people now working for Software 2. So I guess that gives you an idea of how much we're growing and investing. So what about customers? Well, to date we've got 33 colleges, 120 universities, and 72 schools using AppsAnywhere and cloud paging. And that list just keeps growing. Over the last sort of 12 months, we've always been asked historically why we haven't taken AppsAnywhere commercially. And I guess the reason is, up until now, is that education has a very unique problem. And due to historics, we really didn't know how to sell AppsAnywhere into enterprise, if we're being honest. However, all that changed this year, or last year, with the addition of some commercial customers. Some of you may have heard of, some of you may not have heard of these companies. I'd never heard of Leidos. Who are Leidos? Turns out Leidos are probably one of the biggest companies in the US. They own Lockheed Martin. They deliver what was formerly Obamacare to the US State National Health Service. So, and if you haven't heard of Leidos, there's a familiar face. Okay, well, I've spent a few moments going over the past. I'm going to hand you over to Phil Morgan, who's going to tell you what we're going to do in the future. But the biggest takeaway I wanted you to get from today is that Software 2, formerly a product company, formerly selling somebody else's product, is no longer just a product company. We're a service company. We deliver a service to your users. You deliver a service to your staff and your students. And may that continue. Okay, Phil.
Right.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Liam. Okay. Hola, buenos dias. I'm sorry that, unfortunately, when I went to school, they taught me how to speak French. So, if only I'd known how useful it would have been to speak Spanish. So I hope that you understand me okay. I've got lots to talk about, so if it doesn't make sense or you don't understand, just say. I'll try to use different words. I'm sure maybe somebody can translate, but hopefully it will make sense. So my name is Phil Morgan. I'm Head of Client Services at Software 2. So I look after our support team, our implementations team, our packaging team, and really, I'm here to make sure that you're all successful with AppsAnywhere and with Software 2. That's my job. Okay, and I've been involved in many projects. Leon showed how many universities and colleges that we work with now. I think I've been to over 100 of those. I used to work at a university in the UK called Lancaster University for many years. So those of you who have met me before will probably know that, and I was in charge of the AppsAnywhere and cloud paging rollout at Lancaster University. Now I try to help people like yourselves to do the same project really all over the world now. Such is the rate that Software 2 is growing. In fact, I think we got our first customer in Australia a couple of weeks ago, so it really is worldwide now. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what we've done with AppsAnywhere over the past couple of years. So, looking back at last year, so in 2018, we had 3 different releases of AppsAnywhere. We added 44 new features. That's actually more new features than ever before. In 2017 we added 30, in 2018 44. There were 31 fixes and improvements. Thankfully that is less than the year before. So there were less problems to fix in 2018 than there were in 2017. And we added 6 new delivery methods. So we now have 25 different ways to deliver an app in AppsAnywhere, which is really cool. And we also got our first AppsAnywhere only customers. So we now have some customers that are just using AppsAnywhere with the different delivery technologies that they already have. So that's quite cool as well. Okay. Now to do this, we've been growing our team. So we appointed 2 new staff in our development team. We've got Farah Shipham, who's our new product owner, and she's really making sure that as we develop the product, that we develop the features that people need, and helping us to organise and prioritise that. We hired Jade Holt, who looks after quality assurance. In the beginning, we used to work with an external company to do quality assurance, and we found that there were still bugs and things that were getting through into AppsAnywhere, so now we have brought that into software too, and we're really taking more focus on making sure that when we release a new version of AppsAnywhere that it has been thoroughly tested and that everything works as it should. And so that's a focus for us. And so that brings us up to the current version, which is AppsAnywhere 2.6. Okay? So I want to tell you a little bit about what we did in AppsAnywhere 2.6. We spent a lot of time last year on accessibility. So although when you look at the AppsAnywhere portal, it looks the same as in previous versions, there are actually a lot of improvements to accessibility. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we've done there. Well, that was a big focus for us. We also added granular admin roles. So there's now a system admin, a global admin, app admin. So there are different levels of access to the system. We also added audit or history of changes, so that you can see when people have made changes to the applications or delivery methods. That's now included. We added Citrix integration, so the ability to deliver apps to Citrix Receiver, where Citrix Receiver is already installed. And that completed the set for us of VMware, Citrix and Parallels RAS. And we also included Linux compatibility. So some of those delivery methods can obviously be used to deliver to Linux users. So AppsAnywhere can now detect and deliver apps to Linux. And we added an end user license agreement, which is not very exciting, but we had to add it because our lawyers told us to. So there is now a EULA. Okay. But actually, when you come to upgrade, I think at the moment, I think all of you are using version 2.3. So it's not just the features in 2.6 that you will get when you upgrade, you will also get everything that we did since version 2.3. So that includes things like Parallels RAS. So we really like Parallels RAS because it includes the ability to deliver an app into a web browser with HTML5, which is really cool. So that means really any device, including things like Chromebooks, which are obviously quite a useful device in education. So Parallels RAS really opened up some new opportunities for us. And we've got a lot of customers in the UK now and quite a few in the US who are using Parallels RAS to deliver their Windows cloud-paged applications to non-Windows devices, whether that's Mac or Linux or Chromebooks. So that's quite cool. We added Jamf Pro integration. So if we want to natively deliver a Mac application to Mac, we looked at what people were using at universities. Jamf Pro was a very popular option, and so we integrated Jamf Pro. So that's now in there. We also introduced client detection. So in the latest versions, AppsAnywhere can now detect whether the client is installed. So when you go to AppsAnywhere and you normally get that message, have you been here before? We don't need to ask that anymore because we can detect if the client is installed, so that's better. We also added the ability to view apps and provisions. So when you edit an application, you can now see which provisions and which categories the app belongs to. It's something that lots of people had asked us for. It seems like an obvious thing, but it wasn't possible in the past, so it's now easier to see where the apps are deployed. We also added help and feedback link. So you can include a link to your service desk or a web form where people can create a ticket, and banners. So one of the universities in the UK customised the original S2 hub, and they added a banner so that they could advertise things like the BYOD service. And we thought, this is a really good idea. So we built banners into the latest version. So you can now add a banner to advertise a student event or new applications, or maybe when an upgrade is going to take place. Okay, so we added that feature. And then lastly, we added the ability to target laptops specifically. So if you're using cloud paging, you might want it to be possible for people using a laptop to work offline. But in the computer lab, we probably want to work online. We don't want to download the entire application to the computer lab. We want to save disk space. But for a laptop, we do want to make it available offline. So now we can target laptops specifically and use different delivery methods or different settings for laptop users. Okay. So I just want to talk a little bit more about the accessibility improvements that we've made. So we actually worked with an external company to do this. We worked with a company who employ people with a range of different disabilities. So people who are blind or partially sighted, who might otherwise have difficulty using AppsAnywhere. And they did real testing of AppsAnywhere, and they gave us a very long list of things that they wanted us to improve that would make it easier for people with those disabilities. And so we did lots and lots of things. We improved the support for touchscreens. We added skip to content. We made it possible to navigate all of AppsAnywhere just using the keyboard. Also navigation using speech. So we looked at the tools that people with disabilities are using to access the web, and we made sure that AppsAnywhere works perfectly with those tools. And we also added better support for screen readers. So if you're using a screen reader, the order in which it reads the content of the page in AppsAnywhere now makes sense. It's easier to use. Okay, and that all led to us getting a VPAT 2 statement. So this is a kind of industry recognised certification for accessibility, and if you want to have a copy of that statement, we now have that. Okay, so we felt this was a really important thing to do and something that we hadn't paid much attention to in the past, but we wanted to correct. So there's now much better accessibility of AppsAnywhere. So other things that we added. So I talked about adding an end user license agreement. Now I understand that if you go to a classroom and 50 students sign into a computer and half of those students see the end user license agreement and half of them don't, that can be a bit confusing for the lecturer. So we have added the ability to disable that for labs. We have a special web address, URL, that you can use, and if you have appsanywhere.university and /labs, it automatically does single sign-in and it automatically disables all of the prompts. Better? Okay, so we have a special URL for labs, which makes it easier and faster to get started in the classroom. The other thing that we did in terms of laptops is, again, to target whether you want apps to be available online or offline for laptop users. And then for Parallels RAS, so as I already said, we can extend the access to Windows apps to Mac, iOS, Linux, Android, Chromebooks, and really any device with a HTML5 browser. Okay, so it's really making AppsAnywhere true to its name. And then in the latest client, so in AppsAnywhere Client 1.3.6, we added client detection. We've also made it so that the AppsAnywhere MSI installer can support upgrades, so it's easier to deploy. And we've changed the way that the client does its internal communication to use TCP. And the reason we've done that is to reduce validation failures. So you may have seen at some point or another that you'll have validation failed when you log into AppsAnywhere. We've made some improvements which should make it a lot more reliable. We should see a lot less validation failures. Okay. We've also added the support for environment variables. So in cloud paging launch commands, or if you're using the locally installed delivery method in AppsAnywhere, we can now use environment variables in those commands. And there's actually support for multiple custom launch commands as well. So most of these features are things that people had been asking us for. They're things that customers wanted, and we want to try to continue to develop the features that you need and the things that you need. So what comes next? So this is AppsAnywhere 2.6. All of the information about the latest version is always available at docs.software2.com and also at support.software2.com. So you can see the full feature list there and all of the documentation. And we've been working hard on the documentation as well to make sure that all of the features of AppsAnywhere are covered in there. So you'll see that there's lots more being added to that all the time. Okay, so what comes next? So in the next version, 2.7 and beyond, we're going to change reporting. So the reporting in AppsAnywhere at the moment is good. It gives you some information about apps that are being used, how frequently, but it's focused just on cloud paging, and we want to change that. We've got all of these different delivery methods now. We want to make sure that the reporting covers everything that users are using. So we've spent a lot of time working on that. We're actually going to integrate a reporting tool. To do that, we looked at building something ourselves, but we wanted something that was really powerful, really flexible. So we've actually bought a reporting tool that we've integrated into AppsAnywhere, and that will come with lots of built-in reports, but also the ability to customize, to generate your own reports, to take the data and view it in any way that you want, and to take the data from all of the different delivery methods that you're using, not just cloud paging. So it will be a big, big improvement. We're also adding shareable app lists. Okay, so over the past few years, lots of people have asked us to do VLE integration. So things like Moodle or Blackboard. And we looked at that, and it wasn't that simple. AppsAnywhere is quite a complicated system. When you log into AppsAnywhere, there's lots of calculations that are happening to decide which apps you should have access to, which delivery methods should be used. So it wasn't quite simple to take AppsAnywhere and put it inside a VLE. But what we have been able to do is add the ability to create an app list. So in the same way that you might have a reading list, a lecturer could log into AppsAnywhere, create a list of apps for that course, and then share that list of apps with the students. And when the students follow that link, it will take them to AppsAnywhere and present to them the list of applications for their course. And we've made this in such a way that it's flexible. So actually, if you like, students could also create their own lists and share them with their friends. Okay? Or you can create your own lists and put that link into a web page and maybe quickly take people to all of the Adobe apps or all of the Microsoft apps, for example. Yeah, so it's quite a flexible feature that we're adding in, and we think it will help, and it will allow lecturers to create app lists in the same way that they do for reading lists. So that's quite a cool one. We've added in, or we're about to add in, the ability to do pre-launch dialogues. So we were asked by a lot of customers if it was possible to present some additional information when an app is launched. So that information might be a license agreement, it might be a password that they need to enter when the application opens. Okay, so we're going to add the ability to do pre-launch dialogues so that you can present that information on launch. Okay. We're also, as I said, working on testing and documentation, so that's a big focus for us. So we'll be adding more and more to docs.software2.com. And then ultimately, probably towards the end of this year, we're going to turn our attention to the user interface. So Leon showed you some old Software 2 logos and graphics there from almost 10 years ago. AppsAnywhere has only existed now for 3 years, but already we feel that the AppsAnywhere interface, well, it could benefit from updating. It's amazing how quickly things can look out of date nowadays. So we're going to turn our attention back to the user interface, make some improvements. We want to make it easier for for students and lecturers to navigate AppsAnywhere and to find the apps that they need, and to understand how the different restrictions are applied. So if they can't access an app, why is that? Yeah, we want to make that easier. So we'll be working again on the user interface later this year. And most importantly for everybody here, we want to improve SAML support. So we've been working with Versuch to identify specific improvements that we can make to our SAML support and that will benefit all of you. And I'll talk a little bit more about those. Okay. So first of all, we want to make it possible to log in with the UPN. So as well as the username, we could use UPN or email address as login. Okay, so we want to add that. We also we want to make it so that you don't necessarily have to have LDAP in order to use AppsAnywhere. So we could do login based on SAML attributes or EDU person entitlement, for example. And also to provision applications based on attributes. So at the moment we do everything using Active Directory groups. We want to make it possible also to use SAML attributes to decide who should be able to access applications. So we'll be working with Versuch to make sure that we build the right features so that you can make use of SAML attributes and use SAML in a better way. And actually, AppsAnywhere 2.6 already includes native integration for SAML authentication. So we've already built into the existing version some improvements. So we'll continue to work on that. Okay. And I'm very pleased I can give you a sneak preview of some of the things that we're working on. So this is a screenshot of one of the new reporting screens. So you can see there's more detail in here than we've had in the past. And the tool that we're going to use for reporting allows you to build your own dashboards. So you'll be able to take any of the data that you want to see on any of the usage of AppsAnywhere and present that in a dashboard. You can drill into the data. You can combine different data sources together. So it's a very powerful tool that we're going to build in for reporting. Okay. So that will be coming actually in the next version, so this year. Okay. I talked about shareable app lists. This is a sneak preview of how that works. So lecturers or even students can log into AppsAnywhere. They can create their own list of apps. They can share that list. They can edit it. They can take that and embed it in another site like a VRLE. Okay. And if you're interested in learning more about the developments that we're doing, or you want to be involved and feedback on some of these things, we've started a new program. So we call this our Pioneer program. And really what we want to do is we want to engage more actively with all of our customers to get feedback on features as they're in development. We don't want to wait until we release the next version of AppsAnywhere to see what you think. We want to know while we're developing these features so that we can make sure that they work in the way that you want them to work. So we've created the Pioneer program. So this is really, for me, really, really important. Software 2 have built AppsAnywhere based on the needs of universities and colleges. And that is why it's so successful. That's why it's such a good fit in a university. And we want to continue that. We want to continue that focus. So we want to understand better how people are using AppsAnywhere so that we can make the improvements that you need, develop the right features, and also, as part of the Pioneer program, give you access to test new features before they're released. And one of the things that we've been doing in the past couple of weeks is we've been doing webinars. So our development team are now hosting webinars where they will show you the latest features that are still in development, and you can feed back, and they will make changes before the product is released. So we want to keep that going. So if you want to join the Pioneer program, we have a new change request forum. So if you go to support.software2.com, you can visit the change request forum. You can suggest ideas for new features. You can comment on other people's ideas, and then you'll see our response. So the ideas that we like, we accept those ideas. We create a change request for those, and then you can also see on our change request forum the priority that we've given to different features. And if you don't like that priority, you can change it. So you can vote, you can tell us, actually, that idea at the top of the list, we don't really care about that. You know, we don't want that. But this one further down the list is really important to us. Okay, and we actively review this every single month. We go through all of the comments and all of the votes, and that helps us to decide what to work on next. So we're really interested in what you'd like to see. Okay, so you can sign up at support.software2.com, register your interest in order to get the early feature previews, and then you can join the webinars that our development team are hosting, and you can actually see those features that are in development. Okay, so there's a registration URL there if you want to join that program, but you can also go to support.software2.com and sign up through the support forums. So I'd really encourage you to get involved in that and keep giving us your feedback. We want to keep developing the right features and generally make AppsAnywhere an even better app store. Okay. Okay. I'm going to move on to talk about something different. So is there any questions about any of those features or any of the things that we're working on? Good. Excited about new features? Are they the right new features? Yeah? Okay. Excellent. Well, if they're not the right features, then tell us. We want to know. But hopefully, we're building the tools that you need. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to talk about something different now. I want to talk about packaging services. Okay. So we've talked a lot already about different delivery methods, about things like VMware and Citrix and Parallels. But there's another technology that we're quite fond of at Software2, and that's cloud paging. Yeah, we do love cloud paging. It's good. So obviously, when you use cloud paging, you need to package and virtualize your apps. And we've got 3 ways that we can help you to do that. So first of all, we have the S2 library of recipes, and we're adding to that all the time. We also introduced in the last year or 2 training and certification. So if you want to do a professional training course in packaging and gain a professional certification, we now have that available. And lastly, if you just want us to do it for you, we offer packaging services. Okay. Now, packaging services has been extremely popular over the past couple of years since we introduced this. We started doing this in 2016, and it's just been fully booked every year. When I left Lancaster University and I joined Software2, one of the first things that I said to the team at Software2 is, why don't we offer a packaging service? This would be really helpful. Everybody at university is very busy. Packaging can be quite repetitive. You know, this is something that we could help with, and so we created the packaging service. And we actually hired 2 guys to do this. One consultant, a guy called Matt Rogers. He has been packaging for the last 25 years. He was a self-employed consultant. He's only ever done packaging. He never had a job before. So after 25 years of being self-employed, we gave him his first job at Software2. Okay, so he joined us, and now he's doing packaging on behalf of Software2. We also hired another guy called Phil. So Phil Davis joined us from one of our UK customers. He was a packager at the University of Wolverhampton and now works for Software2. But we were fully booked. We've been fully booked every year since 2016. So last year we added Amaze Khan to the team as well. And that was really to make sure that when Phil and Matt are packaging at different universities, they're producing lots and lots of apps and lots of recipes. And we wanted to make sure that all of those recipes make it into S2 library and onto the support forum so that everybody can benefit. So Amaze has been spending a lot of time writing up those recipes and publishing them online. So you'll have seen a lot more recipes in the last year. Okay. So just looking at last year, we provided 350 days of packaging services A lot of those days were delivered at universities, so our guys went to a university and worked with the teams at universities to deliver packaging. We created over 500 app sets in that time. Now, if you think that 350 days, 500 app sets is not very many for 350 days, what you have to remember is that when we do this, everybody gives us the most difficult apps to do. Nobody gives us the easy apps, always the most difficult ones. So actually 500 was a lot of app sets in that time. We also generated 230 recipes. So we were able to add an additional 230 recipes to S2 Library. And we trained over 60 certified packaging associates as well. So more and more people are doing the professional qualification in packaging. So I think that means that now we've got about 110 certified packaging associates. Okay, and in S2 Library, I think there's now over 400 recipes in there, and those recipes are up to date, you know, over the last 2 years. So we're continually working to add more and more recipes to make things easier. Now, the problem that we've got is that our packaging service is always fully booked. Now, we could add more packages. I could hire more people from universities, and then I could send them back to those universities to do packaging. It doesn't really make sense. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. So we think there's something better that we can do. Okay, and to illustrate that, I'd like to play a game. Okay, and the game is name that app. Okay, so I'm going to give you the first one. It's really easy. What is this? SPSS. Yeah, everybody knows SPSS. Okay, probably the most widely used application that we see across all of the universities and colleges. How about this one? Yeah, Photoshop. Okay, do we know this one? Oh, straight away, easy. Anybody? Yeah, Autodesk, AutoCAD. Yeah. Okay. And last one. Envivo. Everybody's favourite. Who's packaged Envivo? Anyone? No. Wow. Okay. So Envivo, again, very widely used. And I think, you know, what do these apps have in common? Well, they're all very widely used applications. Yeah. Some of them can be tricky to package. Yeah. Envivo can be tricky. MATLAB can be tricky. Yeah. So some of these apps can be a bit difficult. But the other thing that they've got in common is they can all be updated with a new license key after install. Yeah. So it doesn't really make sense that everybody is packaging them doing the same work, because once it's been packaged once, we can change the license key. Yeah. So it shouldn't be so difficult. So we want to try to improve this. So for us, 2019 is the year of the packaging revolution. Yeah, it's time for change. And we want to move away from a time-based model where you pay us for 2 weeks and we come to the university, and in those 2 weeks we package all of these applications, and then we go to another university for 2 weeks and then we package all of those applications again. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, so we want to change this, and we want to move towards having a menu of applications. We want to make this more efficient. So we're going to introduce packaging as a service. Okay, so we're going to have a menu of applications, and it will include a lot of the applications that you use. I think everything that is shown there, if you recognise all of those, then you definitely win the jackpot. Okay, so there'll be lots of applications on the menu, and the idea is that this is an on-demand service. So you can use this as little or as often as you like. Yeah, so if you're particularly busy and you just want us to take care of a few apps for you, we'll do that. If you want us to do all of your apps, we'll do that. Okay, it's up to you. It can be a few apps, it can be lots of apps, whatever is easiest. And we're going to introduce pricing per app. So this will no longer be based on time, it will be the cost per application. Okay, and we've grouped the applications into bands. So obviously different apps take longer to package than others. Some are more complicated than others. So we'll have banding so that there's a clear pricing for the applications. And the other thing that we need to do is that obviously there's a particular time of the year when everybody is very busy. So I thought what's going to happen when we introduce packaging as a service is that everybody will want all of their apps packaging in July and August. Yeah? And if everybody comes to me in August with a list of 100 apps, then we won't be able to do it. Okay? So we're going to have an early bird discount. Yeah? Do you know the phrase early bird? Does that translate? No? So if you are early in the year, there will be a discount for this service. Okay? Yeah? And that discount will be up to 50% off. So at the beginning of the year, it's half price. Okay? Now, it might be that you still want us to package things in July and August, and that's fine. And I would hope that when you're really, really busy in July and August and you really need our help, that it will still be good value for money. But if you're organised and you ask for things early in the year, it will be half price. Okay? So the way that this works is there's an annual subscription fee, and that's really to cover us introducing the service, the cost of providing the service and the project management. But what we'll give you in return for that is 30 license-free apps ready to use. So in the past, we've shared license-free apps on the S2 library on the forum. But the problem has been that when our guys are fully booked through the summer, by the time we get to updating the apps on the forum, it's October, November time. It's too late. The students have already started. You already had to package those apps because the versions that we had were out of date. So what we're going to do as part of this service is we've taken 30 of the most common license-free apps and we're going to package them every 3 months. So there will always be an up-to-date version. So if you subscribe to this service, there are 30 apps that you never have to package again. Okay? And if those 30 apps that we've chosen are not the 30 that you need and you have other free open source apps, then we'll let you choose another 10 and we'll do those as well. Okay? The other thing that we'll do is we'll share all of those apps with all subscribers. So if you choose 10 apps and another university chooses 10 apps and another chooses 10 apps, there might be 60, 70, 100 apps maybe that are included. So the free open source software, we just want to make that available and try to keep those up to date. Okay, and then we thought about this idea of having a menu of applications. So a menu of applications, you can choose which applications you want us to package. And we thought for a little while about what's the best way to present a menu of applications, and then we realised we build AppsAnywhere. We already have an app store, so we're going to use AppsAnywhere. Yeah, so there will be a menu of applications, there will be an app store for packaging that you can go to and you can choose the applications that you want us to package. So the process looks something like this. You'll need to subscribe and add some credit. Okay. You can then log into our packaging portal, request the app that you'd like us to package. You provide your license key and maybe the media if needed, if we haven't packaged it already. We'll agree a fixed price for that application. Okay. We'll package and deliver the app set for you, ready to use, and then you can do some testing and we'll provide a warranty so that if there are any problems with that app, you can send it back and we'll fix it for you. Okay. So this is how the service will work, and I can show you what this looks like. So this is the new packaging app store. Okay, so I've got this on a presentation so I can't scroll down, but I think we've got already around 50 apps, more than 50 apps listed in there. Okay, so there's lots already to choose from. All of the apps that are listed in the store are subject for discounts. So you can get a discount against all of these apps if you order early in the year. And you'll see that there are different bands for the applications. So Band A is the cheapest, the more simple apps. Band B, a little bit more complicated, a little bit more expensive. Band C are some of the more complicated apps, and that costs a little bit more. Okay, but the pricing is in 3 bands. Okay, and we've grouped the applications. And you'll notice there are a lot of Adobe apps in that picture there. So this year, Adobe have introduced a new licensing. So they have a new license type called named user licensing. And that's where, when the students launch an Adobe app, they have to log in with their Adobe ID in order to use that application. Okay, it's not ideal for universities, I think that is fair to say, but that's the direction that Adobe are taking. The students will have to log in with an Adobe ID. But it's good news for packaging, because what that means is that we can package all of the Adobe 2019, all the Adobe CC 2019 apps, and you can use those, and the students can log in with their Adobe ID. The only thing that we need to do is we have to create a special version of Adobe Creative Desktop. So there's a dependency that we have to create, and once you have your version of Adobe Creative Desktop, you can use all of the Adobe apps, and students can sign in to use them with their Adobe ID. So we've already packaged all of Adobe CC 2019. Yeah? So if you want to use those applications, we're going to have a fixed price, and you can buy the whole set. Okay? And it is far, far cheaper than it would have been last year, when we would have sent one of our people to your university and they would have spent 2 or 3 weeks packaging Adobe. We've done it once. Now we can give you a low price and you can use it. Okay, so this is really, for us, a really important initiative. It just doesn't make sense that every university is packaging the same applications over and over. So we want to try and build the number of applications that are included in our subscription. We want to try to reduce the cost of packaging, so that if and when you need our help, you can go and log into the portal and you can just choose the applications that you'd like us to do for you. Okay. So we've got there's more details about this coming soon. We'll be emailing out a link to the portal. You can actually log in and have a look. We've got information on our website. Okay, so we'll send you more information about this very, very soon. But finally, if you really, really love packaging and you want to do it yourselves, that's great. We also offer training and certification. Yeah. So if you're trying to package some of those difficult apps and you need some help, we offer a training course, and we'll come to the university. We'll provide that training for you. It takes 5 days, and we go through all of the advanced features of Cloud Paging Studio, everything that you need to know. The whole course is based on real applications. So I think NVivo is one of the applications that we do on that course. So if you haven't packaged NVivo and you want to know how, sign up. We'll come and do some training. We'll take you through all of those features. And at the end of the week, you can do a professional certification. You can do an exam and become a qualified or certified packaging associate. So I think this is the only qualification for packaging that exists. I don't think there's another one. And we created this for you because, you know, packaging can be hard work. It is a professional job, and we wanted there to be recognition of the skills that people have built in using Cloud Paging Studio and in packaging applications. So if you want to do that, we have a 5-day training course. We can come and deliver that on site, and you can gain a professional qualification. Okay. Thank you very much. That's all from me. Is there any questions?
Cool.
Okay.
Well, we finished a bit early, so I guess if anybody has any questions, we can take them offline while we're having a coffee or. But thanks, Phil.
Pleasure. Do you want to see the packaging portal? Yeah?
If you have some demos, this is the
Okay, so this is the packaging portal. So as you can see, it's AppsAnywhere, of course. And we've got quite a lot of applications listed. I think there are, so 96 applications listed here. So most of these applications are ones that can be packaged with a new license key. So we can take the original package that has been created and we can add your license key to these, and that means that we can offer these a lot less expensive than it would be if we did them for every customer one by one. So you probably recognise a lot of the apps that are in here. We could have played a really, really long game, couldn't we? Could have gone through all of these. Okay. Okay. So you can probably just about see the small text that the applications are in different bands. So if I use the categories, I can show you applications that are in band A. So these are the cheapest applications. And at this time of the year, these applications might be as little as €150. Okay, so we want to try to get these to a price point where it becomes very cost effective for you to give this work to software to. And the more people that sign up and use this service, the more we can reduce the cost of that service. Yeah, so we really want to pass on the savings to all of the universities. So these are the kind of band A applications. So things like SPSS is very widely used. If I look at band B, so these ones are a little bit more expensive. So it includes things like the Adobe apps, includes things like Anaconda, AutoCAD, the Autodesk apps, NVivo. Yeah, so these are the band B apps. And then up to band C, which is the more expensive. There's just 3 at the moment. So yeah.
A question about the license. In the band B, there is a ESPSS, for example. If you have we have to provide you the license that we have.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're taking from you the package with the program with the license.
Yes. Yeah. 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 So you choose the application that you want us to package.
Mm-hmm.
You provide us with your license key, and we will give you a cloud paging app set ready to deploy.
So this web page is only for when we have our store with the EFPSS application with our license.
Yes, yeah. That's right. Correct. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So we've created this store so that you have an easy way to place your requests. Yeah. So if you want to request an application, you'll be able to come to the store and you're able to click on the application that you want. We'll take you to a form where you can enter your license key. We'll create a ticket. We'll confirm the price for you so you know exactly how much it will cost. And then we'll package the application and we'll give you ready to use. Yeah? Okay. Okay, and if you want the Adobe apps, for example, we're going to have a bundle, so all of the Adobe apps will be available in one set. Okay, so you can take all of the Adobe apps in one go, and that's if you're using the named user licensing for Adobe. And then we'll also, if there are other things that you would like us to package that are not on the menu, you can of course ask us to package different applications, and we'll give you a price for those applications. Okay. What we've tried to do here is identify applications that we can package more efficiently, where we can pass on the savings and make those cheaper. Yeah? But if you want us to package other things that are not on the list in the same way that we did last year or the year before, we can do that too. Yeah, you can tell us which apps you want and we'll give you the pricing for those specifically. Okay? But the more people that use this service and the more it's adopted, the lower that we can make the pricing. Okay? It doesn't make sense to me, as somebody who used to work at a university, it doesn't make sense to me that I hire people from universities to work at software too, and then send them back to those universities to do the same work at the same price, or even more expensive than it was when they were employed. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, we want to do this in a way that everybody can benefit, where we can bring the price down. And I think if we can make this a successful service, there are lots of opportunities going forward. So, for example, we've identified these kind of free and core applications that will be included with the subscription. So you'll be able to go in and just download these applications right away and they'll be up to date. But in the future, we'd like to build this into AppsAnywhere. Yeah? It would be great if you could just go to the admin portal in AppsAnywhere and just click on FileZilla and just include it in your portal automatically. So this is the start of something, you know, we can build on this, we can add new features. I would really like it if we got to the point where so many people ask us to package SPSS that we can talk to IBM and say, well, why do all of these universities have to pay for us to package SPSS? Why don't IBM pay for us to package SPSS one time, and then we can provide it as a cloud-paged app for everybody? Okay? But in order to do that, we have to have enough people using the service. We have to be able to open those conversations with the license vendors. And I've started to have some of those conversations already. So I've been talking to Tableau. Tableau provide a free version for students. Yeah? So we're talking to Tableau about whether they will pay us to package Tableau one time, and then we can just make that available to every university and the students can use it through cloud paging. So this is the start of something new. It's going to take some time to achieve what we really want to achieve, but right now I think we can really help you in terms of taking away some of the load of packaging and hopefully at a price that makes sense. Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
What about the software release that you have talked about? Could you show a software release that you talked about, that a teacher could make a software release and then provide through our system just a list of
I can't because it's in development, so it's not released yet. But if we go to support.software2.com, okay, so at support.software2.com, you can now see the change request process is here. And this is just some information about how this works, but if we go to the change request forum, and let's go here. So this is where you can suggest new features, things that you'd like us to build, and you can see the suggestions from other customers here as well. Okay, and you can vote on these, you can comment on them, and you'll see here we've got new feature, pre-launch dialogue. So this is where we've done a webinar to demonstrate the new feature, and we've recorded these as well. So we actually did a webinar on sharing application lists. So you can go here and you can watch the video of exactly how this works.
Apply search equals Firefox
Okay. So I'll not play the whole video, but if you want to go and see exactly how that is being developed, then we've got a video about that. And if you don't like it, then tell us and we'll change it. Yeah, so we're really interested in the feedback. So this it's not being released yet, but it's being developed. But if you go to that forum, you can comment on the new features. You'll see the tags here. So where it says considering, these are suggestions that we are currently reviewing. So we're interested in the feedback and the comments, and then depending on how many people vote and ask for these features, we will accept those changes and we'll put those in the list for development. If nobody comments and nobody likes them, then we'll reject them. Okay, so we're really interested. We want you to help us to decide what to do next. Okay. And you can also see as well, I think if I go back, see if I can find it, on the status and priority page. So these are features that have been suggested and that we have accepted and that we are working on. Okay, so the things at the top of the list are likely to happen quite soon. They might be in the next version. Okay, the things at the bottom of the list, well, they might never happen. Yeah? Okay, because there, as you can see, there's lots and lots of suggestions here. So we want your help to decide what features to build. So if you go here and you really, really want to use ThinApp, I don't know why you would, but if you did, yeah, you could go and you can click on this idea of ThinApp and you can tell us, well, this would be really nice to have, or this is essential. Okay. If there are things at the top of the list, so we've added integration with the Android client for Parallels. Maybe you don't need that. So you can go in here and you can say, actually, I'm not interested. We wouldn't use this feature. Okay? And we review this every month and we use this to decide which features to develop and how to shape the direction of AppsAnywhere. Okay? So go and have a look. This is all at support.software2.com. So I can't show you, but you can go and see.
Yeah, I see.
Okay, any other questions?
It's something that is about integration and BDI.
Mm-hmm.
You have some platforms supported. Could be, but about the Citrix now, we know that it's coming in a full supported way.
Yeah.
But if you don't have some examples of Citrix integrations, how it's dealing with this?
Yeah, so the main reason that we added Citrix is because people are trying to get rid of it, which sounds strange. But we've had quite a lot of customers who use Citrix and find that it's very expensive and they want to move to something else. So it might be they want to use cloud paging for Windows, or they want to move to Parallels RAS, which is less expensive. But that transition can be difficult. Yeah, and so what we've realised is that if we, through AppsAnywhere, integrate Citrix as a delivery method, those universities can use AppsAnywhere as the gateway, and then later they can change Citrix and they can use something different. Okay, and I think that's really, for me, the beauty of AppsAnywhere is the flexibility. Yeah, we're not tying you down to one delivery method. If you want to use SCCM, you can use SCCM. If you're using Citrix, you'll now be able to use Citrix. If you have VMware, you can use VMware. If you want to use Parallels RAS, which we actually think is the best way, is the most cost-effective way to do Windows apps to non-Windows devices, then use Parallels RAS. Obviously, we recommend cloud paging, but if in the future we find something better than cloud paging, we'll integrate that. Yeah. So I love cloud. I've spent years and years working with cloud paging. It's a brilliant technology. But if something better comes along, then we'll integrate that with AppsAnywhere. You know, to me, the important thing about AppsAnywhere is that it allows you to deliver the best possible experience to staff and students at the university, and that you can use any of the technologies that are available. Okay, so we will keep adding to things. So now we've done VMware, Parallels RAS, Citrix. There are other things that we're looking at. There's other things that we're considering as well. So we will keep adding things. Or if you're using something different that you want us to integrate, you can go to the change request forum and make that suggestion, and we'll look at that too. Okay, so we'll keep building it on the features. But I think the main reason that we added Citrix is because we have some new customers who use Citrix and they want to transition, and this makes it easy for them to do that. So, yeah.
If you're not transitioning, the Citrix client it supports a pre-configured Citrix ICA client, and that links that back through to AppsAnywhere.
Yeah.
So if you've got Citrix pre-configured on a computer, then AppsAnywhere will deliver the app into the Citrix client. The other way around, for BYOD devices, we can't get that working yet. Citrix are very, very guarded and supported for other app stores, because obviously they want people to use the Citrix store. So yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, but we'll get there.
I'm not sure if I can actually log in here because I don't know what my password is offhand.
Ah, okay.
Let's see. No, not that. Okay. I would have to demo on my laptop, but yeah, one of the things that we like about Parallels, for example, is that you can open the apps in the browser, which is really nice. So it just opens up so many more possibilities. And the way that we have approached all the VDI integrations is this idea that if you've already got cloud paging, you can deliver the cloud paging apps to the server and then use the technology, whether it's VMware or Parallels, to deliver the app to the end user. So we don't have to package the applications, you don't have to manage a server image, you just use cloud paging to deliver it both to Windows end users and to the server for other devices. Okay. Okay.
Cool, if anybody wants to see it, it's running on both of these laptops, so grab us at the break and we'll show you.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Any other questions?
És el moment,
Good.
Sí.
You could ask questions in Spanish also, I'm sure, you know, if we need to translate.
Algun tema que voleu, no sé, paquetitzar? Bueno, no en concret, però...
Cool.
All good.
Però lo important, el cafè està preparat o no? Pot ser que és? No, però... no sé. Perquè posar, el que dèiem de la demo, posar-la al projector, això no? Perquè...
Sí, no? De fet, crec que l'he instal·lat.
Sí, però ell volia el Parallels, la part aquesta BDI, amb el seu, que ho tenen aquí comptat. Llavors, clar,
Des del seu sí, no podem connectar.
we can try to connect
We can try to connect your laptop. No. This is... Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's no cable.
have time to see this. Maybe not, maybe not from YouTube, but here is something.
Okay, so in case you've not seen this before, so obviously this is AppsAnywhere, this is our demo portal. But what's kind of cool with this is we've actually got Parallels RAS set up as well. So I can give you an example, just for fun, let's do Pac-Man. Yeah, so if I launch Pac-Man, you'll see that it opens a new browser tab, and it's actually using Parallels RAS to deliver Pac-Man to my computer, and it runs in the browser. But I didn't install Pac-Man on the server, I used cloud paging to deliver Pac-Man to the server, and then Parallels RAS delivers that into my browser. So you can see that Pac-Man is in the browser, I can't get it outside of the browser, and it's pretty good. So, you know, even though I'm connected on Wi-Fi and I think our system is in the cloud somewhere, maybe even in the US, yeah, I can play Pac-Man. I'm not very good at it, but but it's good, it's responsive, it's quick, it's nice. And if you just want to see I can see the cloud paging player there as well. So you can see that it's actually, Pacman is running in cloud paging. Cloud paging player is also inside the browser. So if I stop Pacman and remove it, yeah, so I'm using cloud paging on the server and Parallels to deliver that to the browser. Okay, and then Parallels has also got native clients. So there's a client for Windows, there's a client for Mac, and also for Linux. And the clients just add a little bit of extra functionality. So particularly on touchscreen devices, the Parallels client on touchscreen devices is really good. So even applications that were not designed for touchscreen, Parallels does a really good job of making that intuitive so that you can use it on a touchscreen and it actually works really nicely. They've done a really good job of that. So we added Parallels because we felt this was, it's much more cost effective than VMware and Citrix, and it does, I would say, 80% of the same features we can get with Parallels. So, and it's probably half the price. So it makes a lot of sense to me to have something that's half the price that does 80% of the same thing. And then maybe if there are some edge cases, a lot of people might have some VMware or something, you know, to do some edge cases. But for general applications, Parallels is awesome. It's really good. So I think I've got a couple of others that I can run. Let's see. What else do we have, Leon?
Notepad, maybe?
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, that's native. So this is just a Notepad++ application. For this time I'm going to use the Parallels client that's installed on my laptop. It does the same thing. Notepad runs on the server. It streams it down to the client, but this time it's actually on my machine, so it behaves more like a natively installed app. The only thing that gives it away that it's not installed is you can see the little border when if I drag the window quickly, because it's running on the server. But the application itself just behaves like a normal application, so I can use it in the normal way. And Parallels includes a universal print driver, so printing works as normal, copy-paste works as normal. You can save your files locally, or you can save them on the server, or to cloud storage. So it's a nice solution. So we've got quite a lot of universities in the UK now who have they've rolled out AppsAnywhere and cloud paging across the whole university, and now they're using Parallels RAS to extend support for Mac, so that students who bring Mac to university can also get access to the Windows applications. I think that's in the past has been a challenge, because often some of the academic software, it's only Windows, there is no Mac version, but yet lots of students have a Mac nowadays. So this is a very cost-effective way to extend the support to Mac users. We have quite a few universities as well who do loan laptops. So previously they would have had Windows laptops that they would use, and students often have it just go and use their library card, and they can take a laptop away and use it for a couple of hours or for a day. And in fact I introduced that at Lancaster University when I worked there, and the problem that we always had is Windows updates. So the student would go to collect the laptop, they check it out, they open the laptop up and it goes, oh, there's Windows updates, you must restart. And 20 minutes later, they can use the laptop. Yeah, it's not great. And so, you know, then we had to employ somebody whose job it was every Wednesday morning after Patch Tuesday, they would go and take all of the laptops out of the cupboard, and then they'd log them on, and then they'd do the updates, and it took all day, you know. What we've seen a lot of universities are doing now is they're buying Chromebooks, which are much less expensive than a Windows laptop. So if it gets broken, not so much of a problem. If the students take it away for 5 days, well, we don't worry as much. But they're using Parallels to deliver the Windows applications to the Chromebooks. So now they have an inexpensive laptop that the student can use, but they can still access all of the software. And what there's 3 universities that are piloting that at the moment, and what they've found is that the price saving from a Windows laptop to a Chromebook has paid for Parallels. Yeah. So, yeah, sorry.
A question about the parallel RAS server. If you can, to use the parallel RAS server, is a service I have to contact to you. We can mount, we can build our parallel RAS server in our university, or?
Oh, we would build it for you.
The both options? Or
We would build it for you. So in order for us to support it, we will do the RAS installation and the integration with AppsAnywhere. Yeah, and then we'll provide you with support. So if you want to do this, there's a couple of options for Parallels. So what a lot of people do is a kind of a 12-month pilot. So you probably have maybe 100 or 120 licenses for the year. You need about 10 servers or 10 virtual servers to run this for those 120 users. And we come to site, I think it's usually for 2 days, and we'll do the installations and we'll do some training, and when we leave, you can deploy all of your cloud paging apps through Parallels straight away. Yeah, so it's essentially 1 year, about 100 licenses. In fact, I think it's only 1 day. I think we only need 1 day to do the installation and training. It's that simple.
how many, how do you say, how many instances will you can launch at the same time?
So, well, usually in that initial one, it would be 120. Yeah, and you need 10 VMs, 10 virtual servers to do that. And that's the whole thing, 10 servers. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really important as well, because when you're looking at, if you want to look at doing VDI and you want to deliver Windows applications to non-Windows devices, it can get expensive very quickly. So, you know, you don't, I think you also have to look at the types of applications that are being used. So if people are using normal line of business applications, then you can run those on a regular virtual server. You know, it's really not that intensive. If people are using heavyweight applications, then you might need to buy a server with a graphics card in order to do that. So the reason that we like the kind of 12-month approach, you know, 120 licenses, is that it allows you to see what the use is like and to get feedback and to understand what the use cases are in your university, so that you can then plan for what's the best way to use this service and how, you know, what kind of scale do we need. If you talk to some of the other big vendors about VDI, they will try to sell you €500,000 of licenses in year one, and you need 50 servers, and you have to buy all of the dedicated hardware. We don't think that that's a good approach. We think that you need to pilot these things and understand how they're used, and, you know, what the specification of the servers that are required, and then make a plan from there. You know, so if you want to do that, we will work with you over that 12 months to identify how it's used, and actually make a, you know, do all of the costings that you need in order to scale up. Okay. I just like playing Pac-Man. Cool. Okay.
No.
Excellent. Thank you. Gracias.
Perfect. Thank you for your time.